Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm Masahiro Tanaka from Tokyo, Japan. So today, I would like to talk about something about our journey towards successful HTML5 mobile applications. So actually, this is a session that's separated in two parts. One is that I will describe briefly about what is a successful HTML5 application, and then later, one of our engineer, Kurui, will describe how you can create successful HTML5 applications. So, first of all, well, I think if you say, if the client say, please create a very good application, I want to make a success, but I would like to use PhoneGap, or maybe I would like to use HTML5 and create a hybrid style. Maybe most of you guys say, well, maybe that's not a good answer, good recommend. We will recommend maybe writing native, or maybe something similar, or maybe like don't forget like using PhoneGap and something similar. That may be some kind of like feedback where you are going to tell maybe, but actually. What they understand recently is that HTML5 or PhoneGap solution is tend to think that they are for lower client certification. But actually, this slide in our presentation is aimed for those kind of people who think HTML5 or PhoneGap is not even here, to change their mind that HTML5 or PhoneGap actually rocks. So it actually is here. That is the principle of today's presentation. But actually, what I mean successful, I think there are several ways to define how successful the application is. So in this slide, I will like to describe as user experience. So everything is about user experience. So if you want to achieve a good user experience application, we need to think about two kind of things. So I write down formula. One is the number of development cycles that you can do within the short development time. This is very important. And one more thing is that whether you're adapting good application design by means of visual design or framework like architecture. So these two things combined, this is the importance of how you can deliver user experience formula. So talking about our story, actually we're founded 10 years ago, creating many mobile applications in Tokyo, Japan. So maybe most of you guys think Japanese customers very strict about their quality, their requirements. They like high quality applications, and that's where we are trying to deliver PhoneGap so that we can both have cross-platformability and the application performance. So combine these two, that is what we're going to talk today. So as I said in the formula, one most important thing is this development cycle. So think about your application and you're submitting that to your client, like what I do in Tokyo. So we create some applications and submit our application to client. Maybe clients say, no, this is not what I want to have. We want more high quality, more smoother animation, more great design, more working like a very smooth, very like native. So that is like what happens actually in the development. So it is very important that it is the main part of the development is to do coding. This is very true, but also at the same level, you need to test by yourself. Of course, you're doing. So you're coding and you're debugging instantly. So you're doing coding and debugging every day. That's what developers' job. But this doesn't, ends to increase the user experience. What we need to do is to ask user to test. Maybe this is a client, or if you're delivering application by yourself, this may be some kind of beta test users. So in order to, because you are asking clients or users, so we created this thing, please test this, and please try this, and please give feedback. So that user gives the feedback, and that is the very important source of improvements. So after you getting the feedback, we are now find place to improve your application, and then another cycle begins. So it's all about like development cycle. So we need to iterate until, and there are so many iterations until the release of the software. But because, the budget is limited or the time span is limited, So the very important thing is that how many iterations you can do within that development, project to achieve, greater user experience, to learn from users or learn from customers. So ask from customers and improve your application. So that is the typical development process that we are adopting in Tokyo. And maybe this is very similar in India to achieve high user experience level to get more user experience level. So my part, I will describe how we are doing this in 3 ways. And I think this can be used in globally. That's why we are coming from Tokyo and want to introduce our service or how we are doing to improve our development cycle much more faster than the normal development process. So one thing, this is actually so much important. Test on actual devices. So actually, it tends to happen. You're using maybe Nexus 5 or Nexus 7, which has a very good CPU, or maybe latest OS version. And then it is working very good. So then you're passing that to customer. You're sending APK, or maybe you're using iPhone 5s because you're very, you like new gadgets. And then the customer actually uses iPhone 4. Then there's some kind of performance bottleneck happens. So in order to predict that, we need to always run your application on target device. This is very important thing because this reduces the risk of the rejection of the client, and also you can aware how performanceable, how well performance your application is running if you run that on older devices. It doesn't mean you don't need to make performance great performance or for all the old devices, but you still need to aware how performative it is to use to run your application. And actually, in some cases, it's not only a performance issue. There's some kind of errors because OS versions differ. If there's a different OS version, that means the engine is different. Like browser engine is different. The operating system has different APIs. So you need to maybe there's some chance that your application doesn't work. So this is one more important thing that you need to test on actual devices. And one more thing, if you're, I think all of you guys here are mobile developers. So I think we can still test, create project and test on PC browser. That's okay because PC runs very well, has quite big, quite large debugging capability, but still mobile browser is different. So you need to concentrate on testing mobile browsers as well. And there's some tips of selecting devices where we are doing in Tokyo. We categorize in screen size like smartphone, tablets, and there's something like called phablets between like 6 inches or 7 inches. So there's various screen sizes, and there are various platform types and versions. So what we are doing is that we are testing as much device as within our budget or as a client budget. But we cannot buy every devices. So what we do is go to mobile shop or mobile network carrier to test the device. That is one good way for us to test our latest application. So sometimes inside the electric store we go in a team and install our APKs in every devices and try to check it. That's very, very, there is nothing to cost. We just walk to the electric store and try it. But actually, there's one more, way I can recommend is to try cloud-based device service, which is, coming out quite recently. So one of the services called like Remote Test Kit. This is also a Japanese company trying this, providing this one, and we are quite heavily user of this. So maybe if somebody don't know this kind of service, maybe you can try this one. So this is a cloud-based testing service where you can rental actual device through cloud, through a browser, and use it from your computer. So this is very handy. And you can install APKs, or there's iPhones, there's iPads. So there are so many different devices. And there are actually some foreign models as well. So maybe you can try this. Second thing, to increase the cycle of development process. This is actually a very killing feature that we think is very important for creating hybrid applications. We don't compile even if we change some source code like HTML or JavaScript. Of course, we need to compile again if we change like Objective-C code or Java code. But if the changes is just within the scope of a browser, we don't need to compile actually. We just reload the content, and everything should be actually working, because browser engine is just it's like a virtual machine. So it's like hybrid application is like a virtual machine running on your application. So the virtual machine is your browser. So if there's any way you can provide a virtual machine to reset, that's mostly everything that we can restart your application. So I will describe how we are doing this in later, but this live reload shortens your development time, and we can do debug, test, write and test very quick in very, very high frequency. And one more thing, debug efficiency. This is one more also very important thing. So before iOS 6, there was no local debugging via iOS, but now there is. So if you plug USB connect your iPhone to your Mac via USB, you can use Safari Remote Debugger. Or if you're using Android or targeting for Chrome browser, you can use Android Chrome Inspector to debug your mobile application from your personal computer connected via USB. So this is very, and this provides advanced debugging functionality, which I will describe later. And one more way is to do remote debugging. What I mean remote debugging is to remotely via internet or LAN, Ethernet, to connect to the target device and test it. So the difference, the comparison, is actually remote debugging has less feature than local debugging, but it's handy because we don't need to plug via USB. But most of the functions, basic functions, are provided like similarly. So I think it's a matter of which kind of debugging you prefer to do in order to create hybrid applications. So now I mentioned three core importance. So testing and live reload and debugging. So if we integrate together, what makes? So that is what we have been doing for more than 2 years in Japan. So this is our flagship called Monaka. This was actually not intended for delivering to and making other external service. Actually, this was born from our needs that we need to iterate more in order to achieve higher performance. So that was the beginning. And then we try to understand that everybody who's creating phone applications is experience this kind of difficulty. So that's why we made it as a service, and now we translate it into English. So we have a code editor and debugger, and powerful testing tool, and there are so many plugins that you can plug in. So before, afterwards, I would like to demo a little bit for Monaca. But first of all, I'd like to mention why this is Monaca. And I was very interested that there is a snack called Monaco, very similar to Monaca. And actually, Monaca is a Japanese snack. And the difference is Monaca is very circle, and Monaca is very rectangular, like a square. And actually, the Monaca is that is the picture of Monaca. So it is like an application icon, right? So that's why we name it Monaca. And the stuffing, there is some stuffing, very we say ankle is inside that stuffing. So it's like your application that wraps up by our service. So that is the naming. The original came from and we name it Monaca. So I would like to do a little bit demo. So let's open up. So the biggest thing is that this is running on cloud. So you just need a browser to access to our service. And I already logged in here. You just need your email and password to log in. And when I click to, when I access dashboard, you will see several projects that is active right now. So first of all, let's create a new project here. Let's create Hello World. So the project has been made. So I will launch IDE. So remember, this is all the running inside Chrome. So you just point to our website, and this kind of IDE will appear. And then what we can do, because this is we can actually like preview and see some kind of like the result from here. But this is actually a preview. So what I said, we need to test this on real device, because that is most important thing for mobile development. So that's why we created a tool called Monaca Debugger. And here it is. So I will. So this is a Monaca Debugger. And now when I refresh this, you can fake it? Yeah. Can you make it? Okay. Oh, that's the trick. Okay. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. So sorry for that. So this is the called Monaca Debugger. This is a tool for testing your mobile your application right away on your real device. It supports Windows 8 and Android and iOS 7. So now I'm just trying to use iOS version of Monaca Debugger, but it does work exactly the same as Android. So let's execute Hello World. This is now I'm executing from the data that is shown over there in the background, and it takes a little bit time to synchronize. Okay, now start syncing. So because what it is doing is because I created a newly project. So now every data is now transferred to my device here, and the Hello World application is now running. And here, so I will close this. Here you see something like Debugging Tool, where you can see like what kind of like elements you have, or like what kind of console log you have. So there's the tool like that. So this is called remote debugging. That's what I say. You can also use local debugging, but remote debugging is very handy for this kind of purpose. So now, if you say, I want to change this Hello World to something else, so here's my screen that is pointing out and changing colors. So if I change here like, to double exclamation, it automatically reflects the changes here. It doesn't. Yeah, like this. So it's like a very easy step to debug and check the source code of what you're running and see it in action from Monaca Debugger. And one more thing I mentioned about live reload. So what is this? Is that if I change something here, so this is the original source code. So even if I change to 2 exclamation marks, because I haven't changed the source code in HTML, it doesn't change. So I will say, not hello world, but maybe hello India. And then when I save this file, the debugger automatically reflects the changes like this. So it's like a live, so this is the function of live reload. So you just change your source code, whatever, and then when you save it, it automatically transfers that changes to the device, and the browser executes again. So again, so there's no compile anymore, and actually this application is downloaded from App Store. So actually, there is no reason for us to start development without iOS Development Center account, right? So this is how we can use Monaca. So we have live reload, we have code editor, we have debugger, and if you want to check the console, here is for you. And if you want to inject some script, what we can do, we can actually this is some place where you can inject code. So if you set alert hoge, it will be automatically transferred to the JavaScript file here. So this is how we're creating as a Monaca as a development platform. So this is a very handy tool for creating mobile applications, because in this way you can edit your code, and when you save it, it's instantly transfer the changes to your device. So that means very, very short time compared to save it, compile, and install and run again. So this makes the iteration process very quickly. So that is what I wanted to tell you in very beginning. And actually, there's a little bit, couple more features in Monaca. So I would like to explain this, and then I like to hand over to Chris-san. So from here, I mentioned that this is actually Chrome, running Chrome, and I'm now using a Mac, but actually this runs also in Windows. And actually, what we have is the build functionality. So if you want to build for Android, we have our own, we have the cloud-based build server. So we will build for you and return back the APK file. And it's the same for iOS. So we have the build server for iPhone applications. So we'll build and returns you back. So that means your front end is always Chrome or Safari, so it's a browser. Or you even can develop by using tablets like Android or iOS, iPads. So if any kind of browser you can use, and you just ask us to remotely build the application for iOS, and then we will do it for you. So there's no way. So say you can do push notifications, or you can manage databases. You can email to others or whatever you like through this Monaca backend service. So we integrated the database and the remote database. You also can use local database like WebSQL or local storage, and we also integrate debugger like Monaca Debugger. So you see like a live reload function. And then we also integrate build system, build for iOS, Android, and Windows 8. So it's pretty much everything that the developer needs to experience during the development for hybrid applications. And actually, one more thing I would like to emphasize is that this is actually an open source product. So if you don't like to use our cloud service, that is fine. We are actually providing this tool, this kind of framework, open source. So you just go to GitHub and download whatever you want. So we are providing iOS and Android version of the framework, and Onsen UI, which we will discuss later with Chris. Everything is actually every source code that you need to execute the application is actually open source. But you still can use this IDE cloud service for free. So I'm very happy if you guys take a look at our service and try to investigate Monaca whether it fits your needs or not. But I hope every PhoneGap developers actually suffer from building high quality applications. And one of the biggest reasons is that the lack of tool to continuously develop and test. So I hope Monaca will solve that part of the problem. But there's one more, importance, right? So even if I told about the tool, this is all about tool. So even if we provided a good, decent tool, if the application performance is bad, there's no sense. So that's why I would like to introduce Cray, one of the leading developer of our corporation, to describe how you can achieve more performative HTML5 applications by using PhoneGap or Monaca or whatever HTML5 browser. So Cray-san, can you just come here, continue? Yeah.
Hello. Okay. So, namaste. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, Indian power. So, okay. First, I want to talk a little bit about India. This is our first time in India, and we are excited. And we really like the food, but the traffic is really crazy. Yeah, it's like racing cars inside the city. But it's fun, yeah. So let's go back to the main story, the story of Onsen UI. And it starts with this sample application that we try to test our backend API. But we don't know what to do, so we use Google I/O sample application. Whether we can make it as performant or as cool UI and great user experience with this. So what you see here is made from actually the product of Onsen UI, and as you can see, it's the performance is really nice. And if you log in wrong password, then it like shaking heads. So we are really careful about the user experience. We want to provide the great user experience. And after you log in, you can see the schedule, and you can choose the slots. So let's say 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. I can select what's new in Android, and I can attend the conference and all the stuff. So yeah, enough for the demo, but let's go on. So what makes it fast? The trick is that we actually using another open source project called Topcode by Adobe, and performance is the first goal for this project. So they actually do the benchmark on every commit that they push to the GitHub. So it's very performant. And the other thing is that how you guys do the transition animation and how you layer the page actually affects the performance. So we also really careful about doing this. And then, yeah, I think many PhoneGap developers knows. How many of you guys have developed PhoneGap applications? Wow, a lot. And how many of you have tried to doing like page animation and all the stuff? I see. Yeah. not a lot of people, but those people who do it know that it's actually how you do it affect the performance. So there's a lot of problem, especially in the Android part, but the one problem is the 300 millisecond delay clicks. So like when you click it, actually the browser waiting for the user, whether user is double click or just click so that it's zoom or not zoom. So, and the other thing is the width highlights on Android. So especially on 0.4, 0.3, and 4, when you tap it, when the animation moves, there's a highlight that sticks there, and it just doesn't go away. And yeah, scrolling in Android is suck. Also, yeah, as I point out, in Android 4.0.3 and 4, there's a lot of bug in hardware acceleration. It's supposed to help the application works faster, but there's a lot of bug around it, and it actually reverses the effects that make the application work slower. Yeah, and also page management and all those transition animation stuff. And a lot of more that make you guys or us headaches. And so after we solve all those problems, we realized that our goal is to create an app, but the result is that what we have done is just trying to dance around all the bugs that they say that the Android and the browser exposed on us, and it's not fun at all. So what we want is just we want to focus on what our awesome app do and say it's a day and let's have some drink and relax. So as a result, we actually asked that why don't we make all those fixes that we have found so far into a framework, so that when we create a new project, we don't need to deal all those stuff again. And the goal is to solve those bugs, and we try to make the performance a feature as well. And ease of use is also important, and we try to focus on the UX as well. And as a result, we have built on-scene UI. Actually, there is some back and forth between deciding the names of on-scene between our employees. So we try to ask what is the best name for it, and it turned out that it should be onsen, because onsen in Japan means hot bathtub. So when you have the onsen and you get out, you feel relaxed and you feel refreshed. And this is a public preview, and it is still in the young stage. And we actually is open source sits on the GitHub so that we can develop on the open. Yeah, so enough for the slide. Are you guys ready for demo? Yeah, great. And actually, live demoing actually is risky, so it's like, be guys. So let's start from a new project. And actually, we have a free template for onsen UI, minimum template, sliding menu. But let's start from the minimum template, because I think everyone wants to know everything from scratch, right? So after you create the application, you have a navigator page 1 and page 2. And what it does is, if I can show you this one. Yeah, sorry. Wi-Fi. Yeah, so it's ugly. What happened? So what we provide is right now we have 4 themes for you to choose: top code mobile dark, onsen red, and light blue. And red and light blue is not ready yet, so I'm a bit hesitant to show you. So let's bear with me. So when I refresh it, yeah. So what you have now is a navigator and page 1 and page 2. Sorry. I think, yeah. I think this is not the right one. Okay. So while we are waiting for this to sync, let's do some explanation. So actually on the index.html you have onsen screen. Why this onsen, this tag? Because our goal is to make it easier for developer to use. So one technology that is actually promising is the next HTML standard web component. So you guys can create your own crazy tags, like what the hell tags and other stuff. And actually we use that to make it easier. So as you see here, we have a screen, and the screen will point to this navigator.html. And in the navigator, you will have a title. So and I think if it's better if I show you here. Yeah. So the upper part is actually the toolbar of the navigator. How many of you guys actually develop iPhone application? Wow, cool. So you know the concept of navigation controller, right? So this is the same thing. So the title and the page. So this bottom part is actually the content of page 1 HTML. So if I open it, it's actually a P. You are now have onsen UI, and we have a onsen button, and we have ng clicks. You guys know what is this? Yeah, AngularJS. So ng click, and when you click it, you wanna push the page to page 2, and you wanna set the title to page 2. So just by doing this, we can have this kind of application. And as you notice, the back button right here is actually handled by the framework itself. So you don't need to worry about managing those page text and animation and back button handling. So it's very quick to write application and create layout and UI patterns. Yeah, I think I have 10 more minutes. So yeah. Let's show some fun stuff. Let's say when I am in page 2, and I want to do something, let's say, so I have a button, sorry, load stuff, and when I save it, I think I should resize it. No, it actually had. Yeah, so there's load stuff, and what's more is that you can have a should spin for true. So most applications, when there's a button, when you click it, it will do something, right? And most of the time, it will try to go out to the server and fetch something and do some long operation. So you need to actually show some spinner on anything that saying that I'm actually trying to help you. So if I go to page 2, why it doesn't? Yeah? Oh, yeah. Thank you. No. Let's try this. Try ng click equal spin equal not spin, and so I think I'm gonna do this. Let's hope it works. Do I miss something? Yeah, it's risky, as I said. Yeah. Okay, I give up. But I can show you guys the documentation. This. Get rid of this. So there is a on-send button, and there is a spin. So when you click this, it will actually show the spinner, and this we try to make it like as user experience as possible. So, and you don't actually there's some animation, so you can have slide right. Sorry. And you can also expand left. Yeah. You can have expand up. Yeah. So you can have zoom as well. Yeah. And yeah, as you can see, the documentation is very user friendly or developer friendly, because we try to make sure that there's example on every text, and those examples actually can be tried or test right on the right side. So by doing this on-send screen equal page 1, and then page 1.html, you can have like button, and when you click, you present the page 2, and in page 2 you can have dismiss page. So with this 3 file and I don't know 10 lines of code, you can have this. Yeah. Okay. This 5 minutes, so I'm actually trying to catch up with the time. Let's say in your application, you actually don't want to have navigation controller. You want to have a tab bar. So how easy it is to just want to change the UI pattern. So in the navigator, I'm gonna change this to onsen tab bar, and because tab bar doesn't have the title and it doesn't have page, and onsen tab bar item, and you can have page equal page 1. Let's copy it, and another tab you have page 2, and if you see this, it shows nothing. What happened? So let's go to tab bar. Oh yeah, I need to put something in here. So are you bored with me, or because I'm just playing with this? So yeah, so we have 1, 2. So just by changing the tag's name and those, it's very easy to change the user interface. And if I change this to theme, sure. Click save, and when I refresh it, come on. Oh, you guys don't see it. Yeah, so actually this is yeah. So this is how easy it is to change the theme. And right now we are trying to develop another theme that is, I don't know, we try to make the user experience much better, and we will create more components like around progress bar and other stuff. And because everything is, I think, going flat, we will add a flat theme to it as well, and it is under process right now. But our, I don't know if I have the file or not, but I think I have it here. You can see my private life here. So, yeah. So this is actually the prototype that our designer actually designed this. So we want to, let's say, I don't know. We want to imagine what is the good user interface, and what actually, because there's some controversial between complaint, like the guy with the native, the guy with the HTML actually trying to fight each other, but and the HTML side actually trying to become like native. But what if we try to make it more HTML5, more that native is actually cannot do it easily, or it can do, but it cannot do it easily. Then we tried what happened with this. So after that, we come up with this design, and we will actually make the theme for it and contribute it back to the top code guys. Yeah, I think that's nearly the end of my presentation. How can I take it out? Okay. Oh. I'm stuck with this. Okay, let's close it. Okay. Let's go back to the presentation. Yeah, I already saw it, so that doesn't suck. And for the win, so minimize your code test iteration time, surround yourself with tool and be good at that. And choose a framework, MVC, and try to make performance as the feature of your application. Yeah, and that's the end of presentation. Please come see us at the booth. And if you guys have any question, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Can we take some questions? Any questions?
Yeah, the guy over there.
First question is to the CEO of the company, like what actually motivated you to develop this particular product? I just want to know that.
Okay.
So the motivation, right? So actually, because in Japan, so people are demanding high quality, but in order to do it, we actually need to use iOS or Android in native form. That was the common common understanding. But we want to break through because we thought HTML5 is actually the future, but we also understand 2 years ago, that HTML5 was not enough for our Japanese clients to deliver somewhat very similar to native applications. But actually, that makes us feeling then how we can achieve native kind of feeling using HTML5, and that is actually the motivation of creating this kind of tool and making our development cycle much faster to reduce our cost of to increase our efficiency of the development, because we're also one of the development agency in Japan. So that's one reason actually for internal purpose. And then we have somewhat different thinking, like thinking like a Zen, like Japanese way of thinking. So we have earned something, we need to return it back to somebody else. So that's what results in creating this kind of Monaka kind of tool set.
Thank you so much for that lovely presentation. A big round of applause from all of us.
Thank you very much.